Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see what California residents Meghan and Harry are up to today for the great American holiday. Last year, they shared a social media post revealing she had dedicated a portion of her Thanksgiving to preparing a meal for more than 300 women experiencing homelessness. Meghan had packed pies into individual containers, which were then handed out to residents at the Downtown Women's Center in Los Angeles. Of all the revelations in Omid Scobie's new book, perhaps the least shocking one was the headline that Meghan could sense when she wasn't wanted by the royal family after the Queen's death, which we could have told you from here, and you probably don't need our help to figure that out on your own. Scobie writes, with the world's media now rushing to Aberdeenshire and most flights and train tickets selling out within minutes, travel options dwindled. Another call came through from Charles, who instructed his younger son to come alone, despite already publicly confirming that Meghan would come with him. Always the plan if they were traveling from California for this very situation. He reluctantly agreed after Charles assured him that Kate would not be there either. The book explains that Charles blamed protocol, but Scobie opines that Kate just wanted to pick her kids up at school. A former Buckingham Palace aide succinctly explained they just didn't want Meghan there. This sentiment was transparent to Meghan, according to one of her friends who revealed that she could sense she wasn't wanted. Prince Harry's close bond with Beatrice and Eugenie is said to be causing worry for the royal family. An insider tells Heat magazine they've got so much in common, the kids, a shared interest in philanthropy, and Harry enjoys offering advice to his cousin about how to further her career, while Meghan's great with parenting, lifestyle, and nutrition. For the King, Camilla, and the Waleses, it's rather unfortunate that Eugenie and Beatrice are so close with the Sussexes. Beatrice and Eugenie are still privy to a lot of what's happening inside Buckingham Palace, so there's a concern about what they're telling them and what they could reveal, even unintentionally. Royal commentator Kinsey Schofield said with Meghan reportedly setting her sights on Hollywood once more, Meghan is finding it harder to accomplish her goals as a result of the royal rift. Speaking to GB News, Schofield commented on royal expert Richard Kay's recent comments suggesting that Harry is tainting Meghan's brand. Schofield said, "This is a great point made by one of Princess Diana's closest friends towards the end of her life. His name is Richard Kay. And he told Palace Confidential that the only thing standing in Meghan's way of a big Hollywood comeback is Prince Harry." Kay says it's harder for Meghan to launch her new career objectives amidst all the royal rift headlines. He added that it's hard for Meghan to come out full force trying to promote the pair's latest projects because everybody wants to focus on the relationship with Harry's family. "I think we can be sure that one thing she is really doing is being a mom and spending time with her children, but it is interesting. Is it because she wanted to give a bit more space to Harry, who had so much to get off his chest this year with his ghastly book and his interviews about his family?" Kay wondered. Maybe she wanted to put a bit of clear blue water between what he had to say and what she's going to do next. Didn't want to taint her brand. However, what is her brand, and will that brand still be there? The longer she's out of the public eye, the harder it will be to kickstart it. Angela Levin told GB News that it is highly unlikely that we will see a return of the old Harry. Levin added, he wasn't interested in celebrity like he is now. He wanted to do work and do his very best for the country. That's what he said. That's what his aim was, to do the best he could for the country, and that's all gone out the window. He's very bitter indeed. He was a little bitter when I met him, but now he's full of it. I think Meghan is a lot to blame, and she's poured into him all the things that are terribly wrong and that she's made him really dislike his own family and his own country. Meghan didn't like the UK. She found it too small. And if you'd ever listened to her carefully, she always wanted to talk about global. She wanted her work to be global. She feels to be global and the UK is not grand enough for her. And she didn't like having to walk behind Catherine and be told what to do and be told what colour and live in a smaller house. GB News' Mark Dolan then argued, do we unfairly demonise Meghan Markle? I mean, she broke up the royal Beatles in my view. But in a way, doesn't Harry own this? Isn't he the one that turned his back on his family and on his country? Why should we blame Meghan for everything? He's a grown man. The Telegraph ranked the 30 worst and best performances of The Crown. At the bottom, number 30, is John Lithgow as Winston Churchill. The Telegraph's take, sandwiched in the public consciousness between turns by Timothy Spall, The King's Speech, and Gary Oldman, The Darkest Hour, Lithgow's outing as Winston Churchill is easily forgotten. That might be for the best, as is one of the weaker links in the show's opening season. The fact that Churchill was half American doesn't excuse the failure to fully ditch the Yank accent, which is particularly frustrating given that Churchill's voice is one of the most recognizable and quintessentially British of the 20th century. They also didn't like number 29, Jonathan Pryce, as Prince Philip, writing, "Other than being old and men, I'm not sure much physical similarity between Jonathan Pryce and the late Prince Philip." Dominic West as Prince Charles comes in at 26. West looks like he could beat the crap out of Prince Charles. It's a performance that ends up being too masculine. His torso ripples through double-breasted suits and insufficiently slippery to truly capture Charles through his messy divorce from Diana and affair with Camilla. Elizabeth Debicki's Princess Diana was number 12, with the Telegraph explaining, "The 6'3" Australian may not be a perfect facsimile of Diana in silhouette, but with both women it's all in the eyes. Those doe-like peepers capture the vulnerability and frustration of Diana's life in and out of the royal family. She may not quite match, but it's still a striking performance." Emma Corrin's Diana is number 3. Big breaks don't come much bigger than playing the People's Princess in Netflix's Crown Jewel. The truly expert element of the performance is managing to capture that difficult combination of angelic aura and prickly personality that typified the doomed Diana. Vanessa Kirby's Princess Margaret was number 2. Rarely seen without a cigarette and or a martini, Kirby's Margaret is a chaotic whirlwind and typical of the fun that the Crown was willing to indulge during its early seasons. And the top performance goes to Claire Foy as the Queen. The Telegraph writes, "Look, there's undoubtedly an advantage to playing the Queen, one of the most iconic personalities of all time, during a period on the fringes of living memory. But Foy, inhabiting Elizabeth from 1947 to 1964, is instantly recognizable as the woman who would become Britain's longest reigning monarch. Brittle uncertainty over the years gives way to an inner steel, a quiet confidence. Her relationship with Matt Smith's Philip is appealingly coquettish, and her romper through Commonwealth history represents the show at its most fun. Without Foy's magnetic turn in the lead role, it's hard to imagine the Crown gaining the traction to keep running all the way into the new millennium." And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalacintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, Google, iTunes, or your app of choice. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It really helps. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue. Good times.